Authentic love does not seek to possess the other, but rather to allow both to grow in freedom.
Like in combat strategy, sometimes withdrawal is a tactic to reassess the situation.
Honest communication offers not only clarity but also creates an environment conducive to mutual growth.
Understanding the transience of life helps us find wisdom in the most challenging moments.
Hello, I'm Ruby and Oliver, and today I have the honor of welcoming two of the greatest spiritual masters of all time. Osho, a spiritual master known for his transformative wisdom, and Miyamoto Musashi, a legendary samurai and strategist. It is a tremendous joy to have these two brilliant minds sharing their unique perspectives with us. Today, we will dive into a topic that we have all experienced: the power of disappearing from someone's life and the silence in human relationships. In an increasingly connected world, understanding the impact of simply vanishing or ignoring can be the key to healthier and more conscious relationships. We will explore how silence can be a tool for transformation, discover the difference between taking constructive time apart and disappearing out of manipulation, and understand how our fear of loss influences our actions. You will learn to identify when distancing is wisdom and when it is merely escape, as well as how to cultivate more authentic relationships free from power games. So, let's start with a delicate and complex question that many of us have faced or witnessed. Osho, is completely disappearing from someone's life an act of power or an extreme form of emotional manipulation?
Rubian, this is a profound question that needs to be analyzed beyond the surface. Disappearing from someone's life is, in fact, a reflection of deep unconsciousness, both from the one who leaves and the one who stays. We cannot simplify it as just power or manipulation. It is an expression of emotional disconnection and lack of true presence. Imagine a gardener who abandons a plant he has cultivated. That plant cannot survive without the necessary nourishment and attention. Similarly, the act of disappearing reflects an inability to integrate love and responsibility in relationships. Authentic love does not seek to possess the other, but rather to allow both to grow in a space of freedom and mutual recognition. This attitude can result in pain and confusion, creating a vicious cycle of regrets and misunderstandings. The central question is, are we acting from a state of presence or merely reacting unconsciously to our emotions and relationships?
A very interesting perspective, especially regarding the unconsciousness behind this action. Musashi, I would like to hear your view on this same question. Is completely disappearing from someone's life an act of power or emotional manipulation?
Look, Rubian, this question needs to be analyzed from different angles, considering both the context and the intention behind the action. It is a decision that involves individual freedom, but it also carries deep emotional consequences for everyone involved. Like in combat strategy, sometimes withdrawal is a tactic to reassess the situation. However, when we apply this to human relationships, everything becomes more complex. Disappearing can be seen as a form of power, where someone takes control over the feelings and presence of the other, causing sensations of loss and abandonment. But it can also represent a way of managing one's own emotions, an act of self-care and protection of one's own sanity. Like a samurai who fights not only with the sword but also with the mind and spirit, our actions in relationships need to be conscious, always considering the impact they have on the other.
It's impressive how both perspectives show us the complexity of this act. While Osho emphasizes the unconsciousness and emotional disconnection, Musashi brings us a perspective on the duality between self-care and power. It is clear that disappearing is never a simple solution, but rather a reflection of deeper dynamics in our relationships. But before we continue, let me give you an amazing tip. Did you know that it's very easy to stay ahead of 99% of people, succeeding in everything you want for your life? I will leave a link below in the first comment to a book that changed my view on various aspects of my mind, and that has been helping thousands of people find clarity and confidence to achieve their goals and dreams. Don't miss it. I'm sure you will love it. To continue this incredible debate, I have a question that we all face at some point in life. Osho, is indifference really more powerful than direct confrontation in situations of disrespect and devaluation?
Rubian, I consider this question very relevant. Indifference, when practiced with awareness, can be an expression of higher wisdom. It's like being in an internal fortress. External attacks may continue, but you choose not to engage in the battle. When you maintain this stance in the face of disrespect, you are not fleeing or hiding. You are, in fact, consciously choosing not to feed that negative energy. It's like watching a storm through a safe window. You acknowledge its existence, but you do not allow it to disturb your inner peace. The most important thing is to understand that this indifference arises from love and understanding, not from coldness or apathy. When you truly understand that the disrespect of the other is more a reflection of their internal state than about you, you find a genuine freedom that transcends the need for confrontation.
What a profound perspective on the power of non-reaction. And you, Musashi, how do you see this issue of indifference versus confrontation in situations of disrespect?
Rubian, I see indifference as a subtle and powerful art. When someone disrespects us, our first inclination is to react, to confront. But this usually only fuels the cycle of conflict. Think of a flowing river. When it encounters a rock, it doesn't try to break it or remove it, it simply finds its way around. Similarly, conscious indifference allows us to maintain our dignity and inner peace without wearing ourselves out in unnecessary confrontations. It's like a martial arts master who doesn't need to prove his strength. His own serene posture already conveys his power. True indifference is not passivity, but a refined form of resistance, where we maintain our integrity without allowing ourselves to be dragged into the negativity of the other.
It's fascinating how both perspectives converge on the wisdom of non-reaction. It makes me reflect on how many unnecessary battles we fight when we could simply choose inner peace. And for you who are noticing the quality of this conversation and the depth and importance of what we are discussing here, help us by leaving your like, and also comment on what you would like to see here on our channel. I sincerely thank you for your help. Continuing with another theme. In a world where we are bombarded with information 24/7, an intriguing question arises. Osho, does our culture of instant gratification and constant communication make silence an even more impactful tool?
Without a doubt, Rubian. Amid this whirlwind of stimuli and information that surrounds us, silence has become a true treasure. It's interesting to note how, the faster our world becomes, the more valuable moments of quiet become. Imagine a flower that, instead of fighting against the wind, simply bends and adapts. Silence offers us this same wisdom. It teaches us to flow rather than resist. When we allow ourselves this space of quiet, we begin to notice subtle details around us, the singing of birds, the whispering of leaves, things that usually go unnoticed in our daily rush. Silence becomes a portal to self-knowledge, inviting us to step out of the superficiality of the immediate and dive into deeper reflections. It is in this space of quiet that we find clarity and inner transformation.
What a beautiful analogy with the flower. Musashi, how do you see the impact of silence in our era of constant connection?
Rubian, in a world where everything happens in the blink of an eye, silence has become an extraordinarily powerful tool. It's fascinating how, amid this incessant barrage of stimuli, from instant messages to social media, quiet stands out as an oasis of clarity. Imagine a battlefield where the noise of swords and the cries of combatants drown out the mind. It is in the moment of silence that the warrior can observe, understand patterns, and find strategic openings. Similarly, in modern life, silence allows us to process information, filter what truly matters, and clarify our intentions. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is a living presence that allows us deeper connections with ourselves and with others, becoming an invaluable tool for navigating wisely in this ocean of information.
It's fascinating how silence gains even more power precisely in a world that seems to want to eliminate it. Let's move on to the next question. A very relevant question that we have all asked ourselves in moments of conflict. Osho, what is more effective in making someone reconsider their actions? Total absence or open and honest communication?
Rubian, let me explain why open and honest communication is so fundamental in this process. When we choose to withdraw, we may think we are giving space for reflection, but in reality, we are depriving the person of an important mirror for their self-knowledge. It's like when you have a stain on your face. If no one tells you, you'll keep walking without realizing it. Similarly, absence can keep a person in a state of unawareness about their own attitudes, perpetuating behaviors they don't even recognize as problematic. Honest communication, on the other hand, not only provides clarity about situations but also creates an environment conducive to mutual growth. It is through this sincere dialogue that we can better understand ourselves and the consequences of our actions.
Interesting perspective on the mirror of self-knowledge. And you, Musashi, what is your view on this same issue?
Rubian, open and honest communication is undoubtedly the most effective way to provoke real reflection. The void created by absence rarely generates the kind of deep understanding necessary for true change. When we establish sincere dialogue, we create a sacred space of mutual understanding. It's like a master gently correcting their student's posture. Without that honest and constructive feedback, the learner would continue practicing incorrectly without even realizing their mistakes. Through conscious communication, we not only cultivate individual growth but also strengthen the bonds of trust and mutual respect, essential elements for any significant transformation.
Remarkable how both emphasize the power of conscious communication. This conversation shows us that silence is not always golden. Sometimes, a sincere word is worth more than 1,000 absences. A question that touches the hearts of many of us who have experienced significant losses. Osho, is the emptiness felt after someone disappears a reflection of emotional dependence or a natural consequence of losing a meaningful connection?
Rubian, this is a question that deserves delicate analysis. The emptiness we feel after losing someone is like a complex symphony, where both emotional dependence and the natural human connection play their own notes. Imagine a delicately woven web. When one of the main threads is removed, the entire structure feels the impact. Similarly, when someone significant leaves our lives, that emptiness reflects not only a possible dependence but also the deep interconnection we developed with that person. The interesting thing is that this emptiness can also be a valuable teacher. Through meditation and self-observation, we can use this moment to better understand our connections and dependencies, transforming pain into an opportunity for growth and reconnection with our essence.
A very profound perspective on the nature of this emptiness. And you, Musashi, how do you see this issue? Is the emptiness more about dependence or natural connection?
Look, Rubian, the emptiness after a significant loss is primarily a testament to the beauty and depth of the connections we cultivate. As Musashi taught us, understanding the transience of life helps us find wisdom even in the most challenging moments. When we develop deep bonds with someone, we not only share moments, we become part of each other's story. The absence of that person creates an internal resonance that echoes the importance of that connection in our journey. This emptiness is not necessarily a sign of weakness or dependence, but rather a portal to transformation and growth. It is through it that we can find new meanings and strengthen our resilience.
Impressive how both views show us that emptiness can be both a mirror of our connections and a path to growth. Let's move on to our next question, a reflection that touches the core of our social relationships. Osho, is seeking external validation a human weakness or a fundamental need that defines our interpersonal relationships?
Rubian, this question is quite complex and deserves careful analysis. The search for external validation often arises when we disconnect from our deeper essence, creating a void that we try to fill with others' approval. It's like an artist creating a mosaic. If they only care about others' opinions, they lose connection with their own creative expression and the genuine pleasure of creating. When we prioritize external judgment over our own perception, we become prisoners of others' expectations. This constant search for approval is not just an individual weakness, but a reflection of a society that excessively values comparison and competition. True growth begins when we realize that our essence does not depend on this external validation. When validation comes from within, our relationships transform, becoming more authentic and meaningful.
A deep analysis of our relationship with external approval. Musashi, I would like to hear your perspective on this same issue. Is the search for validation a weakness or a need?
Rubian, I see the search for validation as an intrinsic part of our social nature. As human beings, we are naturally oriented to live in community and seek meaningful connections. Imagine the journey of a samurai. They seek excellence not only for personal achievement but also for the recognition and respect of their peers. This need for validation can be a motivating force for our growth, as long as it is kept in balance. It's like water adapting to its container. We need to be flexible in our relationship with external validation. When excessive, this search can make us vulnerable and distance us from our authenticity. The secret lies in cultivating self-confidence while maintaining healthy connections, allowing external validation to be a natural consequence of our intrinsic value, not its source.
Fascinating how both views show us different facets of this issue. It makes me reflect on how we can find a balance between our natural need for connection and the importance of self-worth. A very pertinent question about our interpersonal relationships. Osho, how can we differentiate between taking a break and disappearing to ensure that the action is constructive and not just punitive?
Rubian, this distinction is crucial and closely tied to our awareness and intention. When we decide to take a break, it's like a gardener who wisely allows a plant to have its space to strengthen and grow. It's a conscious, planned pause aimed at healing and growth. Interestingly, when we take a break, we maintain an invisible yet conscious presence. We create a space for reflection and self-knowledge, both for ourselves and for the other. This period becomes an opportunity for transformation, where both can flourish at their own pace. On the other hand, disappearing is like abandoning a garden to its own devices. It's an escape, an evasion of responsibilities that only perpetuates cycles of pain and unawareness. There is no real growth in this type of distancing, only more wounds and disconnection.
A very enlightening analogy. Musashi, what is your view on this difference between taking a break and disappearing?
Rubian, this differentiation is fundamentally a matter of intention and purpose. Taking a break is like a warrior strategically retreating from the battlefield to reassess their position and strengthen their strategy. It's a reflective pause that should be accompanied by clear communication and a defined purpose. When done consciously, this pause can be extremely constructive, allowing both parties to grow and strengthen. In contrast, disappearing is like abandoning the battlefield without honor or purpose. This action generates insecurity and distrust, preventing any possibility of learning or development in the relationship.
What beautiful complementary perspectives. While one shows us the power of conscious pause, the other warns us about the importance of honor in our actions. It makes me realize that true strength lies in the intentionality of our choices. A delicate question that touches on a sensitive point in our relationships. Osho, is the fear of loss a more powerful motivator than genuine love and respect in a relationship?
Rubian, this is a profound question that deserves our attention. The fear of loss can infiltrate our relationships as a very persuasive force, distorting the true essence of love. When someone acts primarily out of fear, relationships can turn into emotional prisons where possessiveness suffocates freedom. It's interesting to note that while fear fragments and imprisons, true love illuminates and integrates. When we move through insecurity, we become trapped in cycles of jealousy and anxiety that hinder the natural blossoming of love. In contrast, a relationship built on awakened love and genuine respect creates a space of emotional freedom where both can grow. When we manage to transcend fear and open ourselves to authentic love, we begin to celebrate the presence of the other without the need for control. True love does not cling, it expands, nurturing not only the relationship but also the individual development of each person.
A deep perspective on the difference between love and fear. Musashi, how do you see this dynamic between fear of loss and genuine love in relationships?
Look, Rubian, the fear of loss can be like a cutting wind pressing a boat in the midst of a storm, an intense and immediate force. Often, this fear manifests in a more palpable and urgent way than love or respect, which tend to be more subtle in their expression. However, it is crucial to understand that genuine love and respect act as a solid foundation, supporting the entire structure of the relationship. They create a safe space where vulnerability can flourish, promoting true connection and understanding. It is a dance between these forces, While fear may drive intense actions, it is love and respect that provide the meaning and sustainability necessary for a healthy and lasting relationship.
What valuable insights! It's fascinating to see how fear may seem more powerful in the short term, but it is love and respect that truly sustain lasting and meaningful relationships. A profound reflection that touches on our existential essence. Osho, does our obsession with being remembered and being missed reveal a deep insecurity about our own worth?
Rubian, you touch on a crucial point of human behavior. This obsession with being remembered is, in fact, a reflection of deeper insecurities about our intrinsic worth. It's as if we are constantly trying to prove our importance through the eyes of others, rather than recognizing the value that already exists within us. Think of the metaphor of trees in a forest. Some trees are immense and others small, but all play a vital role in the ecosystem, even if they are not perceived in the same way. Similarly, each of us has a unique and essential value, regardless of how much we are noticed or remembered. True freedom comes when we free ourselves from the need for external validation and begin to recognize our own intrinsic importance. It is an awakening to the reality that we do not need to be missed to have value. Our existence is already sufficient in itself.
A very enlightening analogy about our intrinsic worth. Musashi, how do you see this issue of the obsession with being remembered and being missed?
Rubian, this relentless pursuit of leaving a mark is like a warrior fighting not only against his opponents but primarily against the doubts that dwell in his own heart. Just like the samurai who trains continuously to prove his worth, many wear themselves out trying to ensure they will be remembered, fearing that their time in the world will lack meaning. When we cling to the idea of being missed, we are, in fact, underestimating the value we already possess naturally. It's as if we are so focused on gaining external recognition that we forget to acknowledge our own essence. On the warrior's path, we learn that true strength lies in finding peace within ourselves, without conditioning ourselves to be measured by the memory others have of us. After all, the greatest victory is the one that happens within ourselves.
Fascinating how both perspectives show us that true peace comes when we stop seeking external validation and recognize our intrinsic worth. Let's move on to the next question. A fundamental question that touches the core of our interpersonal relationships. Osho, how can we cultivate healthy relationships that do not depend on power games, manipulation, or the constant need for validation?
Rubian, this question is central to our emotional development. The key lies in building relationships based on awareness and authenticity. It is essential to start with deep self-knowledge, identifying our patterns and the roots of our need for validation. Imagine a tree that grows strong and stable. It does not need to compete with other trees to assert its value. Its roots naturally deepen into the ground, receiving the necessary nourishment. Similarly, a healthy relationship flourishes when each person develops individually while maintaining their essence. Open communication is fundamental in this process. When we express our feelings without fear of judgment, we create a safe space for truth. Instead of emotional manipulations, we can simply say, "I feel this way" when that happens. This transparency strengthens the connection and avoids misunderstandings. Meditation becomes a valuable tool on this journey, helping us observe our emotional patterns and create an inner space conducive to unconditional love.
What a deep perspective on the importance of self-development. Musashi, how do you see the cultivation of truly healthy relationships?
Rubian, cultivating healthy relationships is like practicing a refined martial art. It requires sincerity, integrity, and true listening to the other. We need to create a space where communication flows naturally, without interference from the ego or fears. Like a river that finds its way naturally, we need to develop fluidity in our relationships, adapting to situations without losing our essence. The constant practice of self-reflection is like the rigorous training of a samurai. It helps us understand our vulnerabilities and avoid power games. A healthy relationship is a partnership where both grow together, like warriors who perfect each other in the pursuit of wisdom. The constant dedication to self-knowledge and understanding of the other transforms the relationship into a harmonious dance of mutual respect and love.
Impressive how both perspectives emphasize the importance of self-knowledge and authenticity. It makes me realize that truly healthy relationships begin with our own inner evolution. Wow, what an amazing conversation we've had here today. Before we wrap up, I want to immensely thank Osho and Musashi for sharing their profound perspectives on the power of silence, the importance of conscious communication, and the true meaning of love in relationships. Today we learned that silence can be both a tool for transformation and a portal to self-knowledge, and that true strength lies in finding balance between presence and absence in our relationships. It was truly special to have these two brilliant minds here with us, bringing wisdom from both the East and the West. And you who have made it this far, I want to invite you to continue exploring more incredible content. On your screen now are 2 more videos from the channel. Just click on either one to continue this journey of knowledge and transformation. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We always bring relevant topics like this that can transform your way of seeing life and relationships. Also, activate the bell so you don't miss any news. Thank you for watching until now, and I wish you to be free from everything that takes away your peace.